We have our third author, Moses Miller. He's the author of The Barack in Me.
Trifling Times of Nathan Jones, Fed Magazine's Once Upon a Time in Harlem, The Game of Trife, and the third part in that series, which will be out shortly, which is Man in the Trifecta.
Okay, Moses, I'm just going to go right here and shoot into it.
Okay.
The Barack in Me. Why that title? I know we have the President Obama and his name is Barack, but why that title?
Okay. To give a little background about myself, like quickly, when I wrote the Trifling Times of Nathan Jones and Once Upon a Time in Harlem, Once Upon a Time in Harlem I wrote for Feds Magazine. Feds Magazine had a readership of about 125,000 of greater people that were incarcerated. I mean, they have a readership that isn't incarcerated, but they have a strong readership of incarcerated individuals, predominantly males. So when I was, doing book tours and different things, especially when Barack Obama was running for president, I would go to different places. Like I would be in Baltimore. I was in Baltimore a few times, and I would do book signings at certain places, and I would see some kids one time, and then the next time I would come back and I see one of them as opposed to the rest of the group, and I asked them, like, what happened to such and such, and they'd be gone, like they were either shot or incarcerated, And I was in Chicago like a week after Darian Albert, the honor student, got killed, and just speaking to kids out there, and the commonality wherever I was at was that people would tend to believe that if we had an African American president, even after we had an African American president, that it was automatically going to be like a magic wand and change what was going on in our neighborhoods, and give youth that that outlook looks grim around them. All of a sudden they're going to get hope just out of seeing a black man in office, where their reality, reality in Chicago was that in the course of 2 years, you have over 500 school-aged kids that got shot. That's their reality. So if the expectation is that just Barack is going to change what's going on around this country and this world, then we're ignorant to think that. So my whole thing with writing that book was just that, as it says on the front, I wanted our young males to know that even though what you see around you seems like it's your reality and that you can't escape that, it says right at the top of the book, where I am does not determine who I am. There's greatness that exists within mine, and so it's time that I unleash the Barack in me. So it's not so much about Barack Obama. It is about, I do think he's a great individual. I think he's accomplished a lot of great things in his life, but I think a lot of times we tend to see greatness in others before we see it in ourselves. And I wanted to make sure that everybody who read that book understood that that same potential for greatness exists within all of us.
Now, one of the other things that in your book, I forgot what chapter it was, you mentioned that there was this two men in the barbershop kind of bragging on how many children they had. Mm-hmm. But not only that, you also mentioned that with them bragging on that, none of them said that they were going to be a father. None of them put light on that, just how many kids they had. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that for me, please?
Yeah, in that book, everything that I talk about in that book is actual events, And the sad thing about it is that not just in the African American community, but unfortunately, we suffer a lot from men fathering children and not actually being fathers to the child. And some men actually even think because they're paying child support that's what that young person needs in order to, be successful in life. Sad but true, I mentor over 30 African American and Latino men. I do 3 programs now in different schools. And I have a boy that I work with, a young man that I work with, in a diversion program that he has a child. He has no relationship with his but he has sort of a relationship with his father. But sadly, he told me that I'm the only person in his life he could trust.
Mm.
Now, you have a relationship with your father and you know your mother, but me that you've known for 3 months, I'm the only one you feel that you can trust. And I guess in a way I should feel happy. Like people say, that's good, but I don't feel happy about that. It's sad. You know, it's sad that that's the state of where he is, because what if he didn't have it? You know, what if he didn't have somebody that he could bounce things off of when he's at a critical point in his life to make a decision that may be impactful to the rest of his life? Because that's where a lot of our young men are at. We have people that can manipulate these young minds into doing whatever they want them to do. So when you talk about the value of mentoring, I mean, the honest truth is that I've been writing fiction since I was 7 years old, and I've been far more successful with writing fiction than I have with writing the Baraki. I didn't write the Baraki to make money. I wrote the Baraki because I had to write. I was in the middle of writing the third part in the Man series, Striking Times, Game of Strife. I was writing Trifecta and I put it to the side because that's how important that was. Because the reality of the situation is if we don't take responsibility for our own, somebody will take responsibility for it. There is a family structure that exists. Don't get me wrong. People say that families are gone. Families are there. Just families are gangs. Gangs are very, very powerful family units. And they provide a lot of that structure that is missing from a lot of our households. So there's a lot of people that talk about gangs, and I don't know why kids gravitate towards gangs. I know why they gravitate towards gangs. You know, because there's something missing. And unless we address that, we're going to continue to have the problems and issues that continue to plague our communities.